course, there's the physical climate, the way the room is set up, and I have to hand it to our last, I don't know how many sergeant at arms. They have always set up the room, had it ready to go. The gavel comes down at 12 o'clock, we're ready, and the room is set up perfectly. So that's the physical climate. And if I had my druthers, I guess we'd arrange so that we didn't have people on the outside of the room, but we'll get there. We're working on probably some other arrangements. But what this talk will be about is more the relational climate. How does it feel when you come into a meeting? Are we friendly? Are we open? Do people feel like coming back? Do they get something out of the talks? Or maybe their own participation? Do they learn and start to grow? So there are a number of things that we can do to improve or to strive, I guess, for the best relational climate in the club. We need to make a good impression. We need to arrive prepared, which means either you have a role or you're prepared to step into a role. This club tends to fly with how things are. If somebody suddenly doesn't come, we usually have somebody who says, I'm willing to be that role, and we witnessed that today. But arriving prepared for the meeting with all the roles assigned would be ideal as much as possible. And being optimistic and feeling that is also good. We need to offer assistance. If when you come in you find that maybe the sergeant at arms is setting up a bunch of stuff, I saw Mark and Vincent distributing name tags. That's the kind of thing that helps everybody out, because not only does the sergeant at arms, who's doing a whole bunch of things at the beginning of the meeting, not only does that person appreciate that help, but then that lets us all get our name tags timely and get in our seats. So offering assistance is another way to make a good impression. Volunteering. That kind of hooks into the thing I was talking about before about arriving prepared. If somebody is not prepared to fill a role, then somebody volunteering to take that role is also, it lets us move along and get into the heart of our meeting. Being supporting of each other in our roles, in our speaking, just simple things, eye contact as the speeches are being given. There are a couple people writing, and that's fine, but make sure that as someone's speaking, I'm not saying this in my own, as I stand here now, but just in general, as people are speaking, giving them your full attention is really helpful and supportive. So we want to support our fellow members. We also want to support our guests, and we can do that by greeting them when they come in, naming them by name, preferably introducing ourselves, and letting them introduce themselves to us. Engaging them in conversation. Oh, it's nice to see you. I haven't seen you since a couple weeks ago, but I'm glad you're back. How was that trip? Whatever it is, greeting each other, members and guests, and engaging in conversation. Answering questions. Now, those of you who are new to Toastmasters, or brand new to Toastmasters, you probably wonder what's going on. There's a lot of clapping going on. There's a lot of rules. It seems crazy. What's going on with all this? Having somebody next to you who can answer some questions is really helpful in the first couple of meetings. So if we can put ourselves in a position to answer questions for people, and it could be after the meeting as well. But when people visit, let's foster their understanding. And inviting others to join. Either come to another meeting or come back and join. And we customarily do say this, and I'll say it now in case we forget at the end. All guests, come back as many times as you like. It is not about numbers. We'd love to have you, but we'd love to have you just come back if you're not quite ready to jump in with both feet. Finally, showing you care. You can show you care about the club by being a mentor to other people. The first 3 speeches is the classic mentor structure, helping them come up with topics, practice, understand what they need to cover, what the objective is of the speech. Showing interest in others, like I said, paying attention to what they say, but really we get to know each other on a whole level that we wouldn't otherwise. When you sit in the office, you know that this person can give you this data or this information, that they attend a meeting with you or something. But when we come in here, we get to know each other on a more personal level. So showing interest in others is a good way to show that you care about the members. Being considerate of time. We try to observe our start and our end times to be considerate of each other's time. Evaluating effectively. If somebody comes in and somebody gives a speech and then their evaluator comes up and gives them some positive feedback as well as some constructive criticism, then that person has learned something. So an effective evaluation shows that member that you care. Recognizing achievements when people have just joined or when people have finished their competent communicator, which is the first speaking level, advanced leadership, bronze. That's the second level of leadership track. Recognizing those achievements gives an opportunity for us to show that we care about what that person has done. Finally, fostering camaraderie. Like I said, we get to know each other. I think there's a feeling of friendship, and I really appreciate that about this club, and I would love to see that continue. So we need to, again, set an example by making a good impression. We need to treat our guests well, and we need to show that we care about the club with a number of things. But that will keep our club thriving. Marilyn?
Tracy for sharing us about the climate of our club. I think our club does very well at many of those things, but it's always nice to be reminded of what we do and how we can make ourselves better. At this point in time, right, Tracy, a little new here. You should have a piece of paper that says speaker comment sheet. You can take 1 minute, Timer puts that on the timer for us. 1 minute, write a few notes to Tracy about what you thought about the speech. Did you have good eye contact or things like that? If you don't have them, we can get you. And these are so that Tracy can get some feedback from all of the audience, and you can learn to speak and try and start improving your evaluation skills. Later in the meeting, Tracy will have a verbal evaluation from our evaluator. Because we're skipping speaking two, we're going right to the table topics portion of the meeting. I would like to introduce our table topics master, Jamie Mattioli, who will lead us through this and describe what table topics is all about. Jamie Mattioli.
Thank you, Marilyn.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Jamie. Took some time. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
How are you doing?
Good.
Good, great, excellent. What is Table Topics for guests and members? It's a chance to speak extemporaneously. I finally learned the word, the correct word. I always got it wrong. Extemporaneously. It's a very valuable skill. I'm sure many of you can think of times where that skill has served you in your lives or could serve you better. Perhaps you're at a meeting and your boss calls on you and says, tell us your opinion on this very important matter. You got to stand up and say something for 2 minutes that makes sense and serves the people in that room. So it's a very important skill. Maybe you're at the supermarket and somebody asks you a question, you have to give a 2-minute talk. There's all sorts of reasons. So it's a 2-minute talk. I ask a question, and folks can respond however they'd like. You don't even have to address their question. You can say, that's a good question, but I want to talk about this, right? So it's up to you. Brian, can we please have the timing constraints for table topics?
Yes, the timing constraints for table topics, they are 1 to 2 minutes. So at 1 minute, you will see the green light. At a minute 30 seconds, you see the yellow light. At 2 minutes, I'll hold up the red card. And then you have 2 minutes and 30 seconds to wrap up.
Thank you, Brian. I'm going to pick on the theme today and the word of the day, and I really appreciate it. Marilyn, I agree 100% that confidence and optimism are interlinked. They're part of the same thought, right? And here's a great quote from an interesting person, Helen Keller, I think, that clarifies that. Optimism is the faith that leads to achievement. Nothing can be done without hope and confidence. Nothing can be done. So here's a woman who born, everybody knows this, blind, and deaf, so she had to make sense of her world through touch, basically, alone, and taste and smell and all that. So here's a woman who is able to learn the English language and master it. Master in English, master in communication. So she was able to achieve all these great things in her life, and she claims she couldn't have achieved anything without optimism, which is hope and confidence. So my question to you is, can you think of an example in your life, or maybe in the lives of others, where that some achievement needed optimism? Some achievement that you've achieved that really needed optimism, and why? It could be something small, it could be something general, it could be a baseball game. Anything. Mr. Nolan, all right.
Fellow Toastmasters, Mark, friends, neighbors, guests. We wouldn't be here, individually or collectively, unless we were optimistic about the possibility of a positive outcome. Nobody wants to, A, be a loser. Almost always, nobody wants to be a loser, and almost always, nobody wants to be associated with a loser organization. That being said, I'll go on the stump just a little bit and remind everybody that being here in this particular club, and this pretty much piggybacks on what Tracy was talking about, well, you put your faith in the right group. For years, well, I'll say 3 to 4 years now, we have been one of, if not the top club in our district. And how many clubs are there in a district? About 65 or 70 clubs. But more importantly, we were the top club in our district when our district was one of the top 10 districts internationally. Now you come in here and you see a bunch of bright, shiny faces and you think, oh, what a pleasant group. We are more than a pleasant group. We are an outstanding group, an accomplished group, a driven group. And none of those things just form out of a vacuum, form out of a void. Every one of us comes in here with a sense of optimism. Every one of us comes in here confident that when we leave, when this meeting is done, that we will have accomplished something, seen something, felt something, interacted with someone that we did before. And I'm done.
Jerry, that was awesome. My second question, what is something that you are optimistic about? Something, maybe some achievement you would like to achieve, anything. One thing you're optimistic about. Why? Jerry. Mark Thompson, please.
I'm sure we've all pondered this question. Do I matter? Have you ever thought about that question? Do I matter? Not just to our family and friends and coworkers, but do I matter in this world? I had to address that question at a point in my life. Because growing up, I grew up with a cousin of mine who was the handsome one with the green eyes, pretty smile, and all the girls wanted him. And I looked at that, wow, well, what about me? What about Mark? What do I get? So I was constantly looking outward to something to validate me, to make me matter in this world. And it's once we get to the point where we realize that we have something that is within us that matters to the world. The key is we have to acknowledge that gift, that skill, that talent that is within. It's not something that's outside of us. It's something that we have to ignite. We have to light. We have to believe in. And honestly, once I found, I guess, my gift of speaking, and not that it's any better than anybody else's gift, then I saw the world through new eyes. Because that was my influence. That was my confidence. That's what made me me. And it allowed me to realize that I have something that matters to the world. Just as well as my cousin has something that matters to the world. We have to believe that we have something within us that matters. Here at Toastmasters, we develop the courage, the strength to find and believe in the thing that matters to us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark, and I must say, your cousin must be a good-looking man. Okay.
He's taken, Gene.
I know, I'm taking two. Nothing wrong with one man thinking another man's handsome. That could be the next table topics. Okay. Where was I? Optimism is important. I think we've covered that fairly well. We can talk about that some more. But I think pessimism can be important too. You can't really have optimism unless you have pessimism, right? I think pessimism can serve us at some point. For instance, if I were walking on a trail and I saw a grizzly bear, and I was optimistic that I could kill the grizzly bear with my bare hands and teeth, that would not serve me. However, if I thought that the plan to attack a grizzly bear would fail, that's the pessimism. This plan will fail. I will not achieve the goal I set out to achieve. It's probably a good thing, and it's probably why we exist, why our ancestors survived. So it serves us, it can serve us. After that long-winded talk, is there anybody who'd like to talk about a time where pessimism has served them somehow? Art.
The Department of Water Resources uses a business software called SAP. And when they rolled this out in 2000, I was one of the trainer types. And as we were all gearing up for it, the budget office started telling us we needed to start doing things differently, start using different terms, and approaching things differently because the software didn't work the way our systems worked. We needed to change our systems to match the software. I was pessimistic that this would prove useful to the department. Although I have been proven right, as I've progressed through my career and had to deal more and more with SAP and train people about it, I've shared this pessimistic outlook. This is not going to get better. This software will not become intuitive overnight. You must find another way. So I have been very optimistic that I could train staff or bring staff on